How Trump can permanently secure his legacy by increasing Social Security benefits. Not reducing Social Security benefits, by increasing them. So when you think about Social Security, who do you think about? You think about FDR. All right, 1935, they passed the Social Security legislation, and FDR signed it. Who else do you think about? Most of you are going to think about Reagan, because Reagan signed the first tax increase on Social Security that was presented to him by a Democratic Congress, but no one thinks about the Democratic Congress because the media is so anti-Republican. They just think about Reagan having raised the taxation of Social Security and increasing your full retirement age, essentially. So reducing your benefits, basically. All right. No one remembers that Clinton signed the same thing in 1993 with a full, huge majorities in Democratic Congress. But we do remember Reagan, maybe Clinton, if you're on the right, and certainly FDR. So those three guys, primarily Reagan, hurt Social Security. FDR brought it to us. I mean, it's just the nature of the media, how horrible they are. No one should pay attention to them, but this is what we're dealing with. So everyone thinks Trump is going to cut Social Security, which is politically stupid. Remember, Trump's base is upper middle income and lower middle income. That base right there, the middle taxpayer. The Democrats are the uber wealthy and the poor. That's what the Democrats are. The Republicans are the upper middle income and middle and lower middle income. So who benefits most from Social Security? Republicans. It's just that simple, man. So Republicans, if they were smart, they'd say, okay, we benefit most from Social Security. Let's make our base happy. All right, so how Social Security works right now is we've got 3 bend points, which determines what our benefit will be. All right. And so what we do here is we say we have to figure out what our average index monthly earnings is first and foremost. That's the first thing we got to figure out to get what our Social Security benefit is. So we're going to use a guy here. We're going to say this guy made an average yearly index earnings. All right. And I'm not going to go into that here today. I've done videos on this before. But he made on average $50,000 a year of index earnings, but he only worked for 25 years. So we take 50,000 times 25, that gives us 1.25 million of basically taxable Social Security wages. Now remember, for Social Security, you're taking your average index yearly earnings times 35 because you have 35 years. They're giving you your top 35 years of index earnings. Well, here he only has 25. Doesn't matter. We're still dividing this by 420, which is 35 years. All right, so here he's got 25 years of indexed earnings, but he's still being calculated as if he had 35 years, which means he has 10 years of big fat goose eggs. All right, that's how it works. You take your top 35 years of indexed earnings, divide by 420, and that gives your AIME, your average index monthly earnings. If you don't have 35 years of index earnings, you got a bunch of goose eggs, we still use this number right here, 420. That still gives us our top 35 years of index earnings, 10 of which in this case would be 0. It'd be as may. So his average index monthly earnings is $2,976. That's not how we count. That's not what his benefit is. His benefit would we have to use these bend points. These bend points. The first $1,174, he gets 90% of that. In this case, $1,056. The next $5,904. He gets 32% of that. In this case, he's got 1,802. So we take 2,976, subtract by 1,174. That gives us the first bend point. To subtract by that gives us our second bend point. This subtracted by this gives us our second bend point, which gives us $576. All right. Now he doesn't have anything in the third realm here, but that's how it works. The first 1,174 is 90% of that you get. The next 5,904, you get 32% of that, and anything above 7,078, you get 15%. So in this case, his average index monthly earnings of 2,976 gives us a PIA, his primary insurance amount. That's what his benefit will be at his full retirement age at 67. It's $1,633. Yeah, it's a little bit more than half. He's getting a little bit more than half of his AIME will be paid out in Social Security. All right, seems like a pretty simple case here. $50,000 a year for 25 years. His tax base of $1.25 million is what he paid taxes on. Divide that by 420. It gives us our AIME, average index monthly earnings, of 2,976, which is what we use to calculate what our PIA will be when you factor in these bend points. And our PIA, how much he gets when he's 67, is $1,633. So what happens if we change this bend point right here to 0.4? Ah, Josh, man! I know. I can hear the peanut gallery screaming bloody murder. I hear them. They scream bloody murder because my contention is okay to have bonds and it's okay to consider a reverse mortgage. People go crazy. And that I don't agree with ongoing wars in Israel and Ukraine and stuff. You want the Russians to take over? You want us all to be under Sharia? I'm like, I don't see that happening, but be that as it may. All right, so now we're going to increase our second bend point to 0.4%, 0.4 from 0.32. All right, what will that do? 1802 times 0.4 is no longer 576. It's not, let me just put this over here, 1633. It's now 720. So in this case, his Social Security will grow from 1633 to 1776. Basically an increase of 150 bucks a month. 150 bucks a month of increase right there. Now you might say, but Josh, that's not that much. Yeah, it is. 150 bucks a month over 1633, which is what he was paying before, what he was getting before. That is let's take a look here. Get my trusted calculator on my new phone. Look at this new phone. This thing is freaking crushing. Look at that. Huge. I love it, but I don't know how much it costs. So ignorance is bliss, babies. That's a 9.1% increase in its Social Security benefit. 9.1%. 9.1% increase. That ain't too shabby. I can hear the people. How are you going to pay for this, Josh? And this is what the Republicans have shot themselves in the foot all the time. How are you going to pay for it? Why do the Democrats never have to justify how they pay for it? How come the military never have to justify how we pay for this with military spending? We never have to justify how we pay for it by Department of Education, EPA, all this stuff. How come it's always tax cuts and Social Security? We never have to justify how we pay for anything other than if we want tax cuts or some benefit increase in Social Security. It's the weirdest thing, man. It's such a fraud. We don't pay for anything. Our deficits are $2 trillion right now. That means that's how much we don't pay for. That means of our GDP is like, what, 25 trillion or something like that? I think our budget, I think we get, what, $6.5 trillion of tax revenue, something like that. We're spending $2 trillion above what our tax revenue is. It's like, I don't know what it is, a 20% budget deficit. I don't hold me accountable, but it's certainly a huge budget deficit. And how long has there been a budget deficit? For as far as the eye can see, man. It's weird. But at some point, Josh, no one will want our bonds. And yet they've been saying that for friggin' decades. Why is it just Social Security and tax cuts where people get all wrapped around this? We got to balance the budget. We never do. We got to pay for tax cuts. We never pay for anything else, ever. And yet this one thing is crazy to me. Anyway, what happens here? Trump rewards his base with a base of we'll say a 10% increase in Social Security for this guy. He does. It's a big deal, especially when you factor in what's the biggest reason Trump won is inflation. You say, all right, no, I get it, man. Inflation's bad. We're going to give you retirees a benefit, significant benefit. We'll increase your Social Security, in this case, by 10%. Dude, you solidify your legacy for a generation, and they can never use it against you again that you're going to cut Social Security. Look, they've been doing this since freaking Dewey. You know, Dewey's a fascist. Dewey's going to cut Social Security, blah, 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 blah. It's idiotic. But not only do we not want that argument made, we want to say, we are the ones who are going to advance your Social Security to reward our own base, our own taxpayer, our own voter. Anyway, that's how you do it, Trumpster. And when people say, how are you going to pay for it? I would just simply say, we'll get rid of the Department of Education. We'll get rid of EPA. Well, I don't know. There's a million ways to pay for this. And I said, well, when did you ever pay for increasing military spending? When did you ever pay for the budget to Israel, the budget to friggin' Ukraine, all these people we got overseas? When did you ever pay for that? Never happened. Okay. Let's get our own citizens squared away. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. Don't forget to paw that like button and subscribe. Subscribe to your old buddy Josh. I want to get that 100,000 subscribers. Probably take until I'm dead. All right. God bless.